Most of us have an abandoned building somewhere near where we live. The old factory, the boarded-up house on the corner, the apartment block that's been empty for as long as you can remember. After a while, you stop noticing it. It just becomes part of the background, another thing you walk past without a second thought. And we all assume those places are empty. Most of the time they are. And then there are the times they very much are not. These are 3 stories from people who lived right next to a building nobody was supposed to be in. Story 1. My apartment looks out over an old block across the street that's been empty for years. It's got a boarded-up entrance, smashed windows, the works. The power was cut off long ago, so the place just sits there dark every single night, which is exactly why I noticed the light. It was a soft yellow glow in one window on the top floor. Not a streetlight reflection, not headlights passing by, an actual light. On, inside a building that hadn't had electricity in years. The first time I saw it, I figured I was tired and seeing things. But it was there again the next night, same window, and the night after that. So I started watching for it. Every night around 11, the light would come on in that top floor window, glow for an hour or 2, and then go out. I told myself it was probably kids messing around with a torch, or someone just trying to stay warm. Nothing to lose sleep over. Except it was so regular, so deliberate, like someone had a routine. What finally got to me was the night I saw the shape. The light was on, and there was a figure standing right at the glass, not moving, just facing out towards the street where I live. I couldn't tell you how long they stood there. I shut my blinds and called the police the next morning. When officers went in, they found someone had been living up there for weeks. They found a camping setup, food, blankets, and a battery lantern, which explained the light. But here's the part that still gets me. The old fire escape at the back of that building almost touches the fire escape of mine. There's maybe a 4-foot gap between them. And the officers said it looked like whoever was staying there had been crossing over, because there were fresh scuff marks and a plank laid between the two. He hadn't just been across the street. He'd been able to step onto the landing right outside my back door anytime he wanted, and none of us had the faintest idea. Story 2. My house shares a back wall with an old warehouse that shut down before I even moved in. For the first couple of years, it was the best neighbor you could ask for. Completely silent. Then I started hearing the footsteps. It was always after midnight. Slow, heavy footsteps moving across the concrete on the other side of my bedroom wall. And then a door somewhere inside, closing with a dull thud. The first few times, I told myself it was the building settling, or rats, or my own mind playing tricks at 1 in the morning. Old buildings make noise. I let it go. But it didn't stop. If anything, it got worse. And what really started bothering me was the timing. It wasn't random. The footsteps came almost every night, between midnight and 1, like clockwork. Doors opening and closing, things being dragged across the floor. Once or twice, I'm sure I heard 2 different voices, low and careful, like people who didn't want to be heard. I would lie there in the dark, listening to someone move around a building that was supposed to be empty, separated from me by 1 brick wall. And I'll be honest, I didn't sleep well for weeks. Eventually, I called the police and told them I thought people were getting into the warehouse at night. When they looked into it, the explanation wasn't a ghost or anything like that. It was almost worse in how ordinary it turned out to be. A small group had been using the warehouse as a base. They were bringing in stolen goods, mostly tools and parts stripped from vehicles, breaking them down and storing them, then moving them on. They worked the same hours every night, which was why the noises were so regular. That predictable schedule I'd noticed was just them clocking in for their shift. The police cleared them out and made arrests, and the footsteps stopped for good. I should feel relieved, and mostly I do. But I still think about all those nights I lay a single wall away from a room full of strangers doing whatever they liked in the dark, and how long it carried on before I finally did something about it. Story 3. We moved into our place because it was cheap and close to my work, and the abandoned factory at the end of the road didn't bother me at first. Big empty building, chain link fence, nothing unusual. I've got 2 young kids, and honestly, I had bigger things to worry about than an old factory. Then one evening, I'm standing at the kitchen window doing the dishes, and I look up at the factory roof, and there's a person standing on it, just standing there. A dark figure right at the edge of the flat roof, looking out over the houses. I watched for a minute, waiting for them to move or do something, and they just stayed put, facing our street. I figured it was a teenager who'd climbed up for a dare, the way they do, and I didn't think too much more about it. But then I saw them again a few nights later. Same spot, same stillness, always around dusk. And once I started looking, I realized it was happening a lot. Whoever it was would climb up onto that roof in the evening and stand there, watching the neighborhood. I asked around, and 2 of my neighbors had seen it too. Nobody had any idea who it was. What turned my stomach was the evening I watched them through the kitchen window, and slowly the figure's head turned, and they were looking right at our house, right at the lit-up window where my kids had been playing 20 minutes before. That was enough for me. I called it in. The police went out to the factory and searched the roof. They found a spot near the edge where someone had clearly been spending time. Cigarette butts, an old folding chair, and the chair was angled toward our side of the street. They figured someone had been getting in through a gap in the fence and going up there regularly. But by the time anyone ever checked, the person was always long gone. They never found out who it was or what they wanted. It's been more than a year now, and we've moved since. But I never got an answer. Somebody spent night after night on that roof, watching the houses on our street, watching my children's window, and I have no idea who they were or why they cared. Some nights I still catch myself glancing out the window, half expecting to see a shape standing somewhere it shouldn't be. Have you noticed a strange abandoned building in your area? Comment your experiences below, and don't forget to like and subscribe while you're there.